are we going to go on vacation this summer?
Is that how you feel sometimes when you're asked that question or you're thinking about going on a vacation? Well, stay tuned for some tips on how to vacation plan, how to start thinking about blank piece of paper, nowhere to go. How should we plan a vacation? Hi, I'm Karen and welcome to Daniel's Do Vacation Planning. Today I'm going to talk about some simple vacation planning tips. Where do you want to go when you're planning a trip? Maybe you're a family that goes to the beach every year and you want to change it up a little bit. Maybe you want to make a list of places you want to go, like a travel bucket list of trips you want to take, and you want to get started with that this year. I guess the first thing that you want to do is just think about, where do you want to go? Do you want to go to the mountains? Do you want to go to the beach? Do you like amusement parks? Do you like a museum or aquariums? And my family, we tend to lean toward the amusement parks, but we, of course, will do it all. We like to do it all. So think about where you want to go. The next question would be, how are you going to get there? Are you going to go somewhere close enough where you can drive? Do you want to take a long road trip, or are you going to need to fly? The next thing to figure out is where you're going to stay. Are you going to stay in a hotel? Are you going to do an Airbnb situation? Do you have friends and family that you can stay with in that area? Or are we going to go camping on this trip? Those are some questions to ask. But then once you figured out where you want to go, just do some searching. Look up on the internet of most exciting things to do in this area, or tourist things to do in this area, or maybe you already know, I want to do this, and this in that area. And so then you begin to just put together a plan. So we're going to take a look at what that plan can look like, and we're going to go on a pretend trip to Hershey, Pennsylvania. So once you've chosen where you want to go, what kind of trip you want to take, how you're going to get there, maybe you already know your accommodations of where you're going to stay, it's time to start putting together a plan. Now, depending on how detailed you are is how detailed this plan goes, but for us, it works for me to sit down and schedule out our days, generally speaking, so that once we arrive on our vacation, we don't look at each other and say, now what do we do? But you've got to, typically when you go on a vacation, you might have to buy tickets for something, make reservations for something, so it helps to have a pretty laid out plan and itinerary of what you're going to do on your trip. Okay, so what I've started using is Google Sheets. I like that because I can change it and update it if I am somewhere else. I have used Excel spreadsheets in the past. I have just used a Word document in the past. So I'm going to walk us through a pretend, but not so pretend, because I've probably done one similar, of a vacation. Give it a title and then figure out how many days you're going to be gone. And maybe you're not sure. Maybe you need to do some planning to figure out if you need to add a day or take away a day. But let's just say we are going to go on this trip August 14th. You can drag it over and it will add days to your trip. So there you go. You have an outline of the days that you think you're going to go, and then you type in what you know is going to happen. So you know that you're going to leave on this day, and you're going to drive, and so I like to add in how long the drive is, which means you're going to stop somewhere for lunch, unless you are a pack a lunch in the car kind of traveler. You can guesstimate your arrival time, and then you put in what you do know. So let's say you know that you're gonna go to Hershey Park on the next day, and you look up their hours to find out that they're open at 10 a.m. and they close at 8 p.m. Now, pro tip on Hershey Park, they do a 2-hour preview the day before your trip. So if you are doing a two-day park pass the day before your first day, or if you're just doing a 1-day park pass, the day before, you can get a 2-hour before the park closes. So if the park closes on Wednesday at 8 p.m., then you can be there at 6 o'clock to do a park preview night. Okay, so here you are looking at your schedule. Not sure what you may do next. Of course, that depends on the interest of you and your family and those you're traveling with. We went in the summer one time, so we got a 2-day park pass, and we did the water park in the morning, and then we went back, changed it into some dry clothes, and went back to Hershey Park to ride our favorite rides and enjoy the park until it closed. There's also lots to do there in Hershey. There's a museum, there's a zoo that's part of the park. There is the Chocolate World, which is free. It's a free little ride inside there, as well as a giant store. And then there's other things you can add on to make your own candy bar, and a little show you can watch. So there's a half a day of things you can do there at the Chocolate World. There's a restaurant you can eat at. And there's also like concerts and theater in the area sometimes that come right there to that Hershey area. You can check the calendar to see if your favorite band is playing or a show is in town that you want to see. And then up the road not too far is Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and that is known for the Amish culture. So you may be interested in going and seeing and just driving around and looking at the Amish country. There's buggy rides you can do, there's tours you can take, there's local restaurants you can eat in to get an experience with that Amish culture, a fun farmers market you can check out. And there's also a place that my family likes. It's called the Sight and Sound Theater. And what that is they do Broadway caliber musicals based on biblical stories. So they are currently doing the story of Daniel. We have seen the story of David and the story of Moses. They're excellent shows if that's something that you're interested in. I recommend going to see one of those. But there's lots of things in the area to make a longer trip out of this. But we also did it again. We did it with my parents, and we shortened the trip. It was in April, and so we didn't do a water park, but we just shortened it down to a show, a little bit of the Amish country, and a day at Hershey. And then we left to go home. So you can finish out your trip with knowing what time that you're gonna leave to get back on the road. And then the only thing to fill in is food. And that's where I spend way too much time and energy researching. But I do some research to find out what kind of local places there are to eat. I say local places, but what I mean is not necessarily to eat at chain restaurants and restaurants that we have in our own town, but to try some new things. Not that we're adventurous eaters at all, but we do try to go to places that have different types of menus than what we're used to here in our own hometown. Now, I also say that that's the last thing to do, but for me, that is definitely not the last thing to do, because if you're going to an amusement park, I spend lots of time researching what kind of rides are at the amusement park, what kind of food is at the amusement park. I like to have a heads up of what I think that my kids and I will ride and what kind of places there are to eat inside the park. That is definitely an important part of us attending an amusement park, is figuring out where we're going to eat. Okay, here you go, a general outline of an itinerary for a 5-day trip, with Hershey Park being the main attraction and the main reason to go on this trip. You can add a day and add other things. We broke up the day where we went to Lancaster and Amish country. We did the Chocolate World in a half a day, and there was a little water park at the Hershey Lodge where our kids played in the pool for half a day. On the way home, we stopped at Gettysburg. So there's, of course, can be endless opportunities and options for you to do research and to look up how to do a trip. But this is just some ideas of blank slate. I want to go somewhere. What do I do and how do I do it? Hope that helps. Stay tuned to see what the Daniels do.